It's like that the nature spirits that live more in the trees have such a different frequency and different logic than the gnomes that are working with the roots. And there was also, it was interesting when you said to not that we think of choosing, but we can be in the middle. This was actually what I was when I was walking up to the door here. When I saw you, I was sharing my dream with a friend, and I was thinking out loud because somebody said to me this morning, I decided to really go offline, and all of my friends are going offline, and we don't want to do anything with social media. That's the new world of the new generation that doesn't want to be online, because we don't want to be confronted in any way with these negative messages and negative posts and so on. And I was wondering out loud, because I feel more like I'm in the middle, like I'm also on social and so on. I'm just an observer of seeing like, that's what's happening. That's what some people are thinking. That's what some people are experiencing. But I don't get carried away with it, because I know that everything is a reflection of something which is also not in me. So I think it's an interesting question. Like, can we be in both and also be compassionate with the wars and with people who are very worried about it, but keeping sort of distance and keeping our own frequency pure or something?
How can you be compassionate if you're not in touch with yourself? So this is the first answer to give to yourself. Or the first question, where is my center? Where can I be in order to give? And plants are always there. They are always at their place. And movement is not everything.
That's
movement often is escaping.
Yeah, I think that right now more than ever, you can bring that over. It's okay. We're testing. We're learning new things.
Yes.
We're testing new things. So I think now more than ever, this point that you just said, Lucertola, is so important, because we have focused our world on running away, right? We only get involved in things that I know I can win or beat or anything. And so much of our society is based on avoiding difficult situations, rather than realizing that if you think like a plant, right? When I'm sitting here, this plant knows, Noel knows lots of things, but Noel knows that this is her environment, right? This is Key's environment, and this is where Noel has to find a way to make it work. Otherwise, it's death, right? But rather than fighting with me about it, right, Noel finds ways to get what is necessary. It's like your mentality changes to finding, where do I move things? Where do I adapt? Where do I let go? Like, we don't seem to take the time to really think across all these different ways, right? Like we're like, forget it. This is hard. I'm out. I'm escaping. And I think right now where the world, there is no escape. I think that's the problem. There is no longer any escape. And so the only thing that saves you is the strength of your relationships. That's, to me, one of the biggest messages. Your relationships are what, and all types of relationships, friends, lovers, people who love you unconditionally, people who kind of only like you, people who don't like you. Like, where can I find usefulness in all of my relationships? And how do I make my relationships, how do I create the relationships that allow me to live the life I really want? And so, like you said, when people talk to me about social media, I am always, and they say, oh, but it's just all negative. I'm like, well, then you're not curating your algorithm very well.
Exactly.
Because if you curate your algorithm, then, and you use, right, you find the usefulness of social media for that. For example, I separate what I receive on each platform that I'm on in order to ensure that I'm curating my mental health. And that was something that the plants taught me how to do. So if I go to one platform, I might see political things, but that's the only platform I see it in. And I know how to shut it down when it becomes too much. And it's focused also not on doom and gloom, but on activism, like, because that's what's important to me. I want to know what's going on. I want the real data, and I want people who are thinking about how to make it better. Or if I go over here, it's fluffy cats and friends and people telling me all the beautiful things that they're doing in their life, because sometimes our minds just need that. And so if you were to think of your life like that, how do I curate my life? The way a plant has to curate their ecosystem. Which are the plants that are my friends? Which are the ones that I'm going to be supporting? So I have to give to them. Which are the ones that I can take from? Who are the mycelial networks that are going to be eating a little bit of me? Which are the ones instead that are going to be bringing me the things I need? Where are the birds that are like, that just provide a beautiful song versus the ones that I relate? In other words, if I think like a plant, I think like an ecosystem automatically. And then all of a sudden I think about all the different ways I can get what I need. For me, that's been the biggest solace, like change in my life. Years and years and years ago, I left the life that I had because I didn't have the friendships that I wanted. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to make them. And if I look at my life now, it's all about relationships of all different types and finding how they work. And that's thanks to the plants. I wouldn't have been able to create that without it.
How did they help you?
I think it was all a gradual thing. The first thing that I had, the biggest lesson that plants have taught me that changed everything is there's nothing wrong with you. Because I used to think that I had a series of traits, like I think many of us do, characteristics that you judge yourself about. And you're like, oh, these are the bad ones that I need to get rid of. I spent 20 to almost 30 years of my life trying to get rid of certain parts of myself until a plant in the sacred woods looked at me and said, psst, there's nothing for you to get rid of. Everything is useful if you know how to use it. So learning how to destroy something consciously can be extremely useful. Your problem is you're not using it consciously. You're letting it come out. And that then destroys things that you actually don't want to destroy. Yeah. So what happened really was spending a lot of time, even with houseplants, and just being like, how do you make everything useful? And really just getting deeper and deeper. Like, stop judging and thinking something is good or bad. Nothing is good or bad. Destructive is good. Constructive is good. Like, all of it can be good in the right use. And that was a big, big emotional game changer for me. It really made me start thinking of myself differently. I'm sure that happens in different ways but that was my big one.
I think that
Sorry, we're trying.
I think it's an interesting point to start from this analogy that plants are standing in their place. Also, when you consider relationships, and something that I'm working on a lot lately is to a little bit also what Lucertola said in the beginning, to really be in your own place and for me in relationships it also means to not chase others and to let go when things don't work in any kind of relationships, also in work, in art, in music, in love relationships. And I read something about a woman that said, I have spent so much time in my life, so much energy, because I was emotionally dependent on my love relationship. And I think this is because we are in this survival mode, from when we were a child, to chase things. Whereas if you are just being in yourself and learning to just feel your own strength, like a rose doesn't compete with a daisy and trying to make her leaves white. She's just concentrating on being the best rose. Right. And I think that's also, and then being the best rose, you attract somebody who's saying like, wow, this is a great smell, or wow, you have this effect on me, or also how flowers make their nectar super, like they are making the most beautiful sweet nectar they can make. So that, and then a bee comes to impollinate, you know. So also in the relationships too. Okay, relationships are important, but the first relationship is also with myself and knowing myself and blossoming for my authentic me.
Mm-hmm. I have a question about it because during my life, I understood that change for me is very important, like transformation of myself, of parts of myself, like. I felt in the last years that transform myself is like really important. It makes me happy. It makes me really life-changing experiences with this. And so my question is, maybe the change is a process through which you really understand who you truly are, but you're not changing anything of you. So, I mean, you are that, but the point is that you're not connected to your true aspect, and sorry for that. And so maybe I'm not changing, I'm just reaching the pure version of myself. I don't know, what do you think about it?
I'll give you a different word, which was another big piece that this path with the plants changed for me. I got out of the word change and into the word evolution. Yeah. Especially from a Damanhurian perspective, it also fits, right? The idea that we're moving towards greater complexity, right? To be able to take more and be able to manage more and handle more and work at that level where it becomes easier to do more. And that's really where we're moving, because evolution means I don't lose the past, right? That's my foundation. Change implies, and this is what I don't always love about the general kind of, I don't want to say anything bad about like the self-help world, but the idea that something is wrong with you and therefore you have to change. No. I have a beautiful base. What I want to learn is how to use it better. And so I agree with you completely, because I'm also like that. I get bored. I'm a multi-passionate. I always have to be learning new things and exploring. But when I realized that I want to bring everything that is in my past with me, even if it was trauma, even if it was a horrible situation, I want to be able to hold more. So I don't want it to sting or to hold me back or to keep me in fear, but I want to learn from it and use it and move forward. Then all of a sudden, evolution became the word. I want to keep evolving, and I want to consciously evolve, because in society, we struggle, especially as humans, to support evolution. Like, in other words, if a person has a strange trait, we think something is wrong with you. You have a disease, you have a syndrome, you have a problem. If you think differently, something is wrong. But that's not what happens in nature. If all of a sudden a red rose puts out a yellow bloom, we're like, wow, how cool. And we support, and we wonder what's going to happen next. Are they all going to turn yellow? Is the yellow going to be part and mix with the red, and we're going to get green? Like, what is going to happen? We get excited. But when that happens to us, my brain doesn't work in the same way that somebody else's does. Or I don't know, I have 6 toes or 6 fingers. All of a sudden it's like, there's something wrong with you. And it's like, what if we looked at it as evolution? What does it take to really evolve into the next generation? We're going to have to break some molds to get there. So for me, evolution is exciting. It's interesting. It makes me curious. And I think curiosity is another big piece of this. And so when I think of an ecosystem, I go towards evolution. And therefore I said, well, if I apply that to myself, what's going to come out next? Where am I going to go?
What's going to come out next?
Yeah. Who am I going to become? Rather than always having the goal, I need to be this person. No, I need to see what emerges and how much fun that will be. That's how I look at it.
What resonates with me when you say that you have so much joy in the growth process, something that I learned from nature is also that after summer, autumn comes, winter comes, spring comes, it goes. It doesn't wait, Yeah. Also that, it also becomes compost and it nourishes the next part of growth. But also it doesn't wait. And I think when we are in movement, we let go automatically of that what we don't need, and we become the new. And as humans, we have the capacity to hold on to things, and this is also standing in our way. It's like when you are doing new things and you change and you automatically have to let go, because in order to become something new, you have to let the old die. And I think that's something which is more difficult for us than for plants.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and also when you think about it from that perspective, plants allow it's not even, how do I say this? We look at it as, of course, as like they allow things to die, which is true. But more than anything, even in autumn, the plants bring in the nourishment that's still useful to them, right? The reason we see the colors, the leaves changing colors, is because they're pulling back the chlorophyll that's going to be useful. They're pulling back any kind of all these other kind of different nourishments, because they're saying, these are the things that are still useful to me now. And then, like you said, the other I'm going to compost. But remember, the compost is right underneath them, which means it's not going away. I don't lose anything, right? It just has to find a new form in who I'm emerging, right? So it composts it has to be a part of other relationships. You have the mycelial that'll eat it up, and you have other kinds of beings, and the soil, the microbes and everything. They do it, and then they excrete it out in a completely different form. And then the roots that are right there suck it back up. So it's this thing of, like we were saying, evolution means I put parts of myself, like you said, I give space. I say, right now, that talent that I've used maybe for 10 years in this job, I'm not going to use this right now, but it's still a part of me, and I'm going to see what it composts into, right? What does it become when it mixes and I give it to somebody else? It's kind of like we were talking earlier about new teachers, right? For some of the classes that some of us have taught here in Damanhur and in others. The beauty is when you get to watch, some of your students start to do things, you get nourished because your knowledge came out and they took it. You evolved into maybe another level, but they took it and they're working on it. And they now bring it back to you in a way that you're like, oh, I never would have thought of that. And then you can bring it back in. And I think it's that same principle. I can see you thinking. I can see Lucertola's mind going.
No, maybe another important point to set is that we are not teachers, but teachers are the trees. Exactly. So it's the plant world, which is the center of all our researches. If I just summarize a little bit what I was thinking, my process of elaboration, starting from the logic of the plants is... first of all, be yourself. Don't escape, okay? Which is the logic of a tree. I'm here. Truth is being. Here I am. Searching or finding. There is no just moving around and standing still. There are all the nuances in the between. Leaves of all colors. This is life. Not only black and white, but relationships. Here I go with what you said before, Tigrilla, because it creates connection and possibility to become creative. So from togetherness is born thought and intuition. So with a tree, you can find this connection and togetherness, which is sometimes difficult to find with other people because we are creating contrast before. So first of all, you say no, and then maybe, maybe. So connect to a tree. He will not say no. Choose one you like, or look, the tree has chosen you in order to, it's happening. You don't need to believe in it, or just trust and it will happen. You find your tree. Nothing can stop you any more then, and you are in touch with your inner senses and express yourself. So they are all processes a person needs to accomplish and to understand somehow. Okay, I am there. Now I'm in touch with myself. You do not need to continue to ask yourself, where am I? Am I in touch with myself or not? At a certain point, you are there and you find your points to refer to. So art and transformation and change will happen to become better, to make it easier, to become more, which is a direction where I need to set myself. More complexity, more beauty, more consciousness and expansion. And this is evolution, actually. It is enough to wish to get there and you are already on the way. And evolution is exciting, fun and joy. So we gave a direction.
I like it. Evolution is fun.
Evolution is fun. I also like that one.
I like it, ladies. Coming this way. Bye. Let's hope that worked.